Have you ever been completely engrossed in a story, like a book, a show, whatever?
Oh, yeah. Totally invested.
And you're loving it, connecting with the characters, but then there's this nagging, like something's missing. Not a huge plot hole, maybe, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah, it's like a narrative itch you can't scratch. It's not about logic necessarily.
Deeper.
More emotional almost. Leaves a kind of question mark hanging there.
Right, and that's exactly the kind of narrative puzzle we're getting into today.
Okay.
This deep dive is all about those moments when something's left out, Specifically, when a main character's background feels, incomplete.
Like a key piece is just absent.
Yeah, deliberately ignored almost.
Yeah.
We want to unpack why these gaps can really affect how we feel about a story and its characters.
It's interesting because our brains, they want things to make sense, right? We look for patterns, for completeness. Mm. So when a big piece of a character's foundation is just missing, it can create this cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance, like your brain flags an error.
Sort of, yeah. Your internal storyteller says, wait, something's not right here. And that can be, surprisingly powerful. Annoying, even.
It really can. And actually, our source material for today comes straight from you, our listener.
Oh, great.
Yeah, someone sent in this really passionate reflection about a specific gap concerning a character named Bo.
Okay, Bo.
So our mission today is to unpack that emotional reaction, this really strong feeling about the fact that Bo's mother is just never mentioned at all.
A complete absence.
Complete absence. We want to figure out what that tells us about what we expect from characters, like story completeness. Why does this particular blank space hit?
That's a great question. It's a perfect case study in how the unsaid can sometimes shout louder than the said.
Definitely. And sometimes it's shouting pure frustration. So let's dig into this specific example. Our listeners' feeling about it is really intense. I think a lot of us might relate.
Okay.
They said, and I'm quoting here, "It simply annoys me to an impossible degree from the second I discovered."
Wow. Okay. Impossible degree. That's strong.
It is. And they add, "I can't quite explain why, but it feels so unfair." That immediate gut reaction, that sense of unfairness, it really stands out, doesn't it?
It really does. And what's fascinating about that unexplainable part is that it often isn't about a straightforward plot point being missed.
Right. It's not like, that detail contradicts chapter 5.
Exactly. It taps into something, deeper. An almost instinctive expectation we have about characters. We just assume, that characters, especially main ones, come from somewhere. They have a past. And usually that involves parents or primary caregivers.
It's foundational.
It is. So when that's just gone, completely absent, it triggers this strong feeling, this unfairness, even if we can't immediately point to the logical flaw. It shows how much we actually invest in these fictional people.
That makes sense. But couldn't you argue maybe that leaving a parent out, perhaps it's a deliberate choice?
How so?
Like maybe the writers wanted Bo to seem more independent, or maybe they wanted to create a sense of mystery around her, or is that a possibility?
That's definitely a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Strategic omission can be really effective in storytelling.
Yeah.
We talk about narrative economy, choosing what to leave out.
Right, what serves the story best.
Exactly. And deliberate mystery, that can pull us in. An unmentioned parent could imply independence, or maybe a hidden tragedy that's just hinted at.
Okay.
But, and this seems key based on the listener's reaction, it's about the degree of omission here. It doesn't sound like a subtle hint.
No, it sounds like a total void.
Precisely. A complete void. To really show independence, you often need contrast, seeing what someone overcame or left behind.
Ah, okay. You need the before to appreciate the after.
Kind of, yeah. Here, it sounds like the origin just never existed. And that feels less like intentional character building and more like maybe a structural oversight that the audience is finding jarring.
So it stops being an intriguing blank and just becomes, or annoying.
Yeah, or disorienting. A hole rather than a mystery.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So our brains are trying to fill a gap the story just won't even acknowledge it.
That seems to be the feeling.
And for our listener, that leads to this real sense of erasure. They ask, how is it possible that such a central and beloved character like Bo didn't receive even one moment of reference to her mother?
It's a valid question from an engaged viewer.
And they feel like, quote, a part of her world was simply erased. Like her family is just disposable, ignorable.
That language, erased, ignored, is telling it feel like an active deletion, not just a passive omission.
Yeah.
And if you think about world building character depth, this kind of perceived erasure has real consequences.
How so?
Well, every character, even in the most fantastical setting, needs to feel grounded somehow, right? Believable within their own reality.
Makes sense.
Relationships, especially family, are often that anchor, that bedrock. When something as foundational as a mother figure is completely missing, it creates a void.
So the character feels less real.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Best complete. Because a huge part of their personal history, their origin story is just not there.
It's like, you know how you build up this mental picture of a character, their connections, their past, and then the story just leaves this massive blank space where mother should be, and your brain just goes, error.
That's a great analogy. Exactly. And that error message creates this nagging sense of incompletion. It reminds me a bit of the Zeigarnik effect.
No, what's that?
It's a psychological thing where people remember unfinished or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. So in a story, a complete unexplained absence like this can leave the narrative feeling unfinished in your mind. It creates that persistent, annoying itch you mentioned.
Right, the narrative itch.
And while a mother is a really powerful example, it's not just about parents. It could be a missing motivation, a skill that comes from nowhere.
Okay. Anything foundational.
Exactly. The foundational aspect is key. If it's missing without explanation, it can feel wrong.
So this isn't just mild irritation. It actually ramps up to anger for our listener.
Understandably, perhaps.
They're asking, why couldn't they include even a small mention? Just something.
Yeah.
But what really struck me is this point. It doesn't matter how deep or complex the plot. The fact that this thing just slipped away is disturbing to me.
That's crucial. It separates this feeling from simple plot critique.
Yeah, it's not about needing some huge, complex backstory episode.
No, not at all.
It's the total lack of any acknowledgement. That's the disturbing part.
And that really highlights how powerful even tiny details can be in storytelling. A single line of dialogue, a quick glimpse of an old photo, a brief memory, even just a character saying, you know, my mother used to say.
Right. Something small.
Exactly. Anything like that could provide that anchor, acknowledge the existence without needing a whole subplot.
It doesn't have to derail the main story at all.
Not at all. It's just about signaling that this person came from that their past exists, even if we don't explore it fully.
It's like the story acknowledging the character as a whole person, living in a real, complex world, even off-screen.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And when even that minimal nod is missing, especially for someone like a mother, it can feel, well, less like an artistic choice and more like an oversight.
Careless.
Potentially, yeah. Or it can feel that way to the audience. And that can undermine their trust in the story's world, in its complete. It suggests a lack of attention to detail that can, pull you out of the narrative.
Even if the main plot is really engaging.
Even then, because it breaks that illusion of a fully realized world. If a basic piece of someone's life is just gone, the whole structure feels a bit shaky.
Okay, so if we're feeling this strongly about it, it says something about us as too, right? We're not just passively receiving.
Absolutely not.
Our listener really nailed this, I think. They said the frustration isn't just about the series, but also about the fact that I love characters and look for connections and meaning in them, and they just aren't giving it.
That's a really insightful point.
And they described the feeling as so strange, annoying, and angering simultaneously. It sounds like a violation of an unspoken agreement.
That's a good way to put it. An unspoken contract between the storyteller and the audience.
Where we expect a certain level of wholeness.
Yeah, coherence. It really gets to the heart of why we engage with stories. We invest emotion. We want to understand these characters, connect with them, find meaning in what they go through.
And missing pieces make that harder.
Exactly. When really key context, like the total absence of a mother, is just withheld, it makes it harder to form those deep connections. Our minds want to build a complete picture.
They see coherence, like you said.
Right. And when a big piece is missing, it blocks us from finding the meaning we're looking for in that character's journey.
So it's not just about the story itself, but about what we bring our
Definitely. We bring our own understanding of how lives work, how relationships function. This expectation for origins to be acknowledged, pretty strong in, say, Western storytelling tradition.
Where family and personal history are often key.
Right. But even outside of that, a complete void like this is usually pretty jarring. It feels unnatural. So, like the listener said, it's not just about this one series.
It's more universal.
It speaks to a general human need for, narrative completeness.
Yeah.
When we invest our time and emotions in these fictional worlds. The frustration comes from that unmet need, wanting the character to feel fully fleshed out, understandable.
That's all their pieces accounted for.
Exactly. It just shows how actively we interpret and engage, bringing our own experiences of life to the table.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what we've really seen today is that leaving out even one detail, like a character's parent, isn't necessarily minor.
Not at all.
It can trigger this really strong, complex, emotional response. It's not just about plot.
No, it hits deeper.
It affects our sense of fairness, how real the character feels, and just our basic connection to the story. It's about how we instinctively look for meaning and wholeness in narrative.
And your reflection, listener, really captured that longing for authentic characters and the real frustration when something feels fundamentally missing.
It's a feeling that definitely goes beyond just one show.
Absolutely. Taps into how we make sense of the world, real or fictional.
It really does. So here's something to think about as you go about your day. Think about your favorite story. Are there any other characters where something felt missing, an unexplained absence, an overlooked relationship maybe that really stuck? And what might that tell us about our own need for connection, for understanding the whole picture of the lives around us? Something to mull over.